What's up, everybody? This is Zack, aka Zacky, creator of Jetlag Radio and many more podcasts on the website Zack.coffee. That's ZACK.CFFE. This is Coffee with Zack in English. So we'll drink a little bit of coffee or tea. I'm drinking some tea right now. All right, let's get right into the show, not lose any sort of time or minutes. This is going to be from Monday, July 14th. So special Bastille Day, 14 juillet for the French people. I'll do a video in French, but I'll make that video for Tuesday, so for the following day. All right, let's go ahead and start the show. The first story is why White Castle owns the night with late night 24/7 hours. It's by QSR Web. As you know, White Castle is a very famous fast food joint. I used to go to White Castle all the time when I was in Ohio. I really miss it, and if White Castle is listening, please bring your locations to California, and more specifically, Northern California, and even more specifically, Sacramento. If you bring a White Castle in Sacramento, we would be very much appreciative, and we really would love it. Now, I know there would be some heavy competition, and maybe places such as In-N-Out or Five Guys would not want White Castle to be in the general neighborhood, but a lot of us who love White Castle from the Midwest, we would love to eat White Castle here in California. So please bring White Castle to California. People will love it. All right. Next story, Jeffrey Epstein is still causing a lot of trouble for Donald Trump. This is by The Economist. Very important story. Don't let it be buried in the news. Be sure to keep talking about it. It's really important. Up next, the story is I spent 500 days as a hostage for Hamas. This is by 1843 magazine, another subsection of The Economist. Be sure to check it out. Important story. Up next, Macron's visit to Britain reflects much improved relations. This is by The Economist podcast. Great storyline. As you know, there's good relations between President Macron and the Prime Minister of Great Britain. They have much better relations than they have when it comes to the U.S. because of everything that's going on with Trump. Up next, geopolitical shocks are destabilizing living conditions globally. As instability intensifies, traditionally attractive cities are seeing their livability score decline. Download our free report. This is by The Economist, the EIU, the Economist Intelligence Unit, the EIU. Be sure to read the report. Very important. Up next, how to know when to pursue your side gig full time. This is by Harvard Business Review. As you know, I'm trying to pursue my side gig full time because I've been working on Zack.coffee full time now since I don't have a job at a corporation in big tech, whether it is like Intel Corp or AMD or Facebook or Google or Amazon or Microsoft, whoever. Since I don't have a position with any of those guys because none of those guys are paying me, I'm working on my website Zack.coffee. I'm posting it, Zack Technology LLC, on LinkedIn. And thank you so much because I've had over 23,000 views on my LinkedIn page for Zack Technology LLC this past week. In just 1 week, I had 23,000 views. That made me very, very happy. And the reason why that made me very happy is because if this trend continues per month, that means technically I could have about 100,000 unique views per month. Per month. That is huge. That would really help me tremendously. And that means that even a percentage of those people, if they were to donate or use a subscription model, I could easily make, 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month, 3,000 a month, maybe 5,000 a month. Maybe I could become, just getting paid like an influencer or someone that's a YouTuber or on Twitch, with getting sponsors and things like that. It would really be helpful for me. So if you're a fan of Zack.coffee, you like Coffee with Zack in English or Coffee with Zack in French, be sure to keep just reading the website and subscribing, and hopefully good news will be on the horizon. Thank you so much. Up next, Trump says EU and Mexico faces 30% tariff from August. It's by the BBC News. Be sure to read that story. Very scary stuff. It's going to crash the market again. So let's hope that the tariff gets delayed again. Let's hope that happens. Up next, can Gap come back? This is by Bloomberg Business Week. So be sure to read that story. Up next, State Department starts firing more than 1,350 workers in Trump shakeup of diplomatic corps. This is from Reuters. I'd like to point out that when I graduated from the Ohio State University in 2009, I applied for a 70 pages foreign service officer position. I did not get the job interview, even though it was the perfect time for me to begin my long career in government. So I was really sad about that. Up next, Israeli forces kill 110 Palestinians in Gaza as truce talks falter. This is Al Jazeera News. Up next, flash floods and climate policy. The New Yorker. It's about a big story on climate change and global warming. Very important topic of discussion with all these flash floods. It's been very much atrocious. Sorry guys, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the television so it gives me a little bit more light so you can see me, so it's not too so my face doesn't seem too dark. So let me go ahead and I'll probably just turn on France Info and put the volume at I'll put it on mute, but just something to have in the background so that you can see me, not so there's enough brightness, since I don't have a light to help me with my YouTube videos. All right. Okay. Let's continue. Up next, we have a story by The Verge. The Verge is saying that job hiring websites are doing layoffs due to AI. The parent company of Indeed and Glassdoor is laying off about 1,300 jobs, CBS News reports. The CEO of the parent company apparently wrote in a memo that AI is changing the world. Indeed and Glassdoor to lay off 1,300 workers as AI shake up job searches business. This is by The Verge, like I said. Up next, America is finally moving past its 9/11 security theater. The end of the mandatory shoe removal signals progress on airport security. This is by Vox. This is a really great sign that it seems that we'll finally be able to travel through the TSA without having to remove our shoes. So that's really nice. It's really helpful, and a lot of people know that it was very inconvenient to like take off their shoes, put their shoes back on, and like some people like their shoe stinks and all stuff like that. So anyway, up next, the story by TechCrunch. XAI and Grok apologize for horrific behavior. This is by TechCrunch. If you can see that story, like Grok starts saying really racist stuff and all this and that. So they have to change the algorithm. Really important for Elon Musk to fix this. It's really important. Up next, inside OpenAI's Empire, conversation with Karen Howe. It's by MIT Technology Review. She's talking about a book that was on the book club, so be sure to read it. Really important story. Up next, the big beautiful bill slashes food stamps. One map shows how much red states depends on them. It's by Business Insider. So as you can see, this big beautiful bill was in fact what we use the hashtag. This trending hashtag is Big Beautiful Betrayal. So be sure to read that on Business Insider. Up next, au futur champion technologique de la France, Julie Huguet a un message pour vous. L'appel à la candidature du programme France Tech 2030 est lancé. IA, cybersécurité, cloud, quantique, infrastructure critique. Si vous construisez le numérique de demain, c'est maintenant qu'il faut postuler. Candidatez avant le 1er septembre sur ce site. There's a link for URL for LinkedIn. Ministry of Economy, Direction Générale des Entreprises, Thomas Courbolucy, Fina Nicolas Tessuel, Clara Devouassou, LinkedIn. So it's La French Tech. La French Tech is one of the institution I'm trying to pursue because I've been discriminated by Y Combinator, as you're very much aware. I tried to apply to Y Combinator many summers in a row, and I've never got a positive response, never got an email or anything. They just were not interested in Zack Technology LLC. And as you know, for you that have followed me, you know that Zack Technology LLC is very important. You know that July Radio is important. You know that the July Radio operating system is important, that people depend on it, and that people depend on updates. And so if you want to see more updates, you need to invest in the company. You need to just, like I said, I'm not like all these other fancy startups in the Valley and in San Francisco Bay where they're asking, oh, we need $3 billion, we need $5 billion. I'm not even asking for $1 million at this point. Right now, While it would be nice, all I'm asking for is about $250,000 because I could pay for all my expenses and I could buy myself a car. I could pay for gas. I could buy an apartment and I could move to the city. I could move to San Francisco or I could have an office space. It would be really important. It really would help me out. Okay, let's go ahead and go forward. Up next, we have a story by The Guardian. Israeli settlers kill American Palestinian visiting relatives in West Bank, says family. This is by The Guardian. So, very scary story that this guy was not only Palestinian, but he was also American, and they killed him. And it's a really sad story, so be sure to read it. As parents weighed risk of summer camps, owners review safety measures by the New York Times. Yes. As you know, because of these flash floods throughout the country, a lot of parents are wondering whether or not it's a good idea to send their kids to summer camps. So, if you want to hear what I have to say, is I suggest you do not take them to summer camps because I just don't like the idea. I don't like the idea because of these flash floods. People are not paying attention to the weather, and you don't know what can happen. Not to mention, I'm really sorry, but the way that we used to be 13 and 14 and 15 and all those ages when we were kids, all of us were essentially clueless about sex ed and all this stuff. And the problem is nowadays, kids who are that age learn a lot because of Netflix and stupid stories like that from TV when they shouldn't. Yes, sex ed is important, but that doesn't mean they should be having it. They're way too young. They should be waiting until they're late high school or they should be in college. That's why they have 16 and Pregnant on MTV, so that they don't end up 16 and pregnant. That's why those shows are there. They're not there to glorify being 16 and pregnant. Being 16 and pregnant is not a fun story. It's not a great thing. You're supposed to use contraception and all this and that. And then if you're in middle school, you're way too goddamn young to be sexually active. Okay. So if you want my humble opinion, I say don't take them to summer camp and instead take them to a camp for sports. They're young. They should be playing sports, whether it is soccer, volleyball, softball, whatever the sport is. Tennis. There's all kinds of sports that these kids could be taking place in. They shouldn't be going to a camp where, I'm sorry to say, with all these sexual abuse scandals that's been going on with all these Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, veer clear from it. It really is too dangerous nowadays. Take them to sports. Let them play some goddamn sports. They'll stay healthy. They'll be in good shape. Take them to football, soccer, tennis, volleyball, table tennis, badminton, gymnastics, whatever the goddamn sports that you're into, take them to that sport and let them play with that. It's much better than them being in summer camps where they don't do anything, they have no sort of activities, and they're all sneaking out in the middle of the night to go to if they're boys sneaking out to the girls' room or if the girls are sneaking out to the boys' room. It's a nightmare for the parents. Let them go play sports. Take them to summer camp for sports. That's my humble opinion. Okay, you make the final decision. That's up to you. The final say what you want to do. But that's what I would recommend is to take them to a sports camp. That's what I would recommend. Up next, let's go ahead and keep this up. We have a story from another story from the New York Times, and this is called "How Netanyahu Prolonged the War in Gaza to Stay in Power." This is a very important story. Thank you to the New York Times, which said finally enough is enough. They put a story in the New York Times saying that basically Netanyahu is trying to stay in power just to prolong that war. If he wasn't in power, the war would be over. Because if someone else would be in charge of Israel, especially the minority leader, Yair Lapid, whatever his name is, he would probably end the war. That's not what he would want, to continue a genocide in Palestine, in the Gaza Strip, and the West Bank. It is Netanyahu keeps prolonging that war. And, I'm sorry to say, there are countries that are calling Netanyahu a terrorist. He's labeled as a terrorist. That's what he is. The ICC wants him in handcuffs. Seriously. Up next, Trump desperate damage control on Epstein. This is by the Huffington Post. Be sure to read that story, very important. Up next, Tinker Tailor, Soldier MAGA, Tulsi Gabbard, and Kash Patel are turning their agencies against their own staff. This is by The Atlantic. This is a very important story, guys, because Tulsi Gabbard was in charge, is I think still in charge of the DNI, which is almost in charge of all the intelligence community, and Kash Patel is in charge of the FBI. So if those guys basically start panicking because they start realizing how this Epstein story is going straight to the top, straight to the Trumps, through his whole company, through Trump Tower and all this and that, and all the Trump Russia and all the Trump corruption and all this and that, they're realizing that it's very scary behavior. It's really bad. It's really problematic. So when they start turning out and actually doing the right thing and saying this is wrong, or for example, Tulsi Gabbard, I think she basically said that what was going on in Palestine was wrong, or that it was important to support Ukraine, or a multitude of topics that she discussed, and or the fact that it was important that Israel should not have a nuclear weapon, things like that. When they spoke out, they were basically taunted and saying that they shouldn't have done that, even though it was very important for them to speak out. So anyway, the story is on The Atlantic. Be sure to read it. Up next, we have a story from the 538, State Department workforce reduction. There are simply too many people. This is by 538. And then I made a commentary. Actually, there are not enough people at the State Department. You just didn't like the left-leaning staff, which votes Democrat. Secretary Blinken would do a much better job than Secretary Rubio. Even though, as you know, you always see me like pointing the finger at Israel. Oh, Israel's bad, Israel's bad, Israel's bad. Secretary Blinken, Jewish. He's a good guy. At first, he was very much pro-Israel, but it took him a while. Then he started to realize, oh my God, this is a goddamn genocide. So that means that Blinken would probably know what to do. And for the love of God, if you know Blinken, if you have him in your phone number, call the goddamn guy, take him to your college or university or, Cypher Brief or wherever. Let him do a keynote. Have him questions back and forth. Make him talk for an hour. Put it on YouTube. People want to hear what he has to say, especially since he's been out of a job, since he left office. He has a lot to say about what's going on in the conflict in the Gaza Strip. Let him talk. Yes, he's no longer Secretary of State, but he has a vast amount of experience. He was Secretary of State for a while, for a very long time. So let him talk. See what he has to say. Up next, we have a story from the Washington Post. Japan, after 101 tough days, learned a hard lesson about U.S. alliance. Japan thought it had a special relationship with the U.S. Now Tokyo is finding that its security alliance counts for little as it struggled to cut a trade deal. This is by the Washington Post. Be sure to check it out. Up next, story by Le Monde. Paris police deployed en masse ahead of PSG final and Bastille Day. This is a story by Le Monde. As you know, very sad story. On Sunday night, PSG lost against Chelsea. It was 3-0 for Chelsea. And for some reason, the game was not at night. I thought it would be at night because it was in New York, or it was in America. But for some reason, it was like for lunch. So I was very frustrated that PSG lost. They would have been quintuple. They would have won like the league, their cup league, the Champions League, another cup, and then they would have won the FIFA Club World Cup. It would have been amazing. Sorry, I'm looking at France Info, and the female anchor has such wonderful hair. It just caught my attention. Okay, let me continue. The next story is from Vice. The Black Panthers weren't just turned martyrs. This is a story from Vice, very important. Black Panthers, a very important part of Black history, not just Black history, African American history, but American history. It's not just Black history, it's American history. The Black Panthers were part of the of the of what makes America great, and you need to read that story. And it's very important. Up next, we have a story from The Intercept. ICE campaign of violence will lead to more deaths. It's a very scary story. Be sure to read this from the Intercept. All these ICE people running around the country detaining Latinos. Very scary stuff, and just a very sad story. So be sure to read the article from the Intercept. Up next, what this shipwreck teaches about the horrors of slavery. This is by National Geographic. Really important story. Just the horror with the horrificness of slavery. So be sure to read that story. I also read a story about people who were like literally working as slaves in America. They would do something like kind of like a hint to people that they would meet. Well, like if they were to pay someone, they would write a number. So, for example, if they were to pay cash somewhere and pay with like a 20, they would write the number 400 on the bill, so that when the person would look at the bill, it would say 400, which would be as a, kind of like a sign that says 400 years of slavery. Help me! I'm working like a slave and I'm not getting paid. So it's a very like these special notes here and there to help people that are in these difficult situations where they're basically being exploited and they have to work for free instead of receiving a salary. Okay, up next we have a story from NPR. No playing Spanish music. Many immigrants say they have new rules for driving. This is by NPR. This is a very racist story. Like the thing that Spanish-speaking people, Latino people, cannot play their Latino music while they're driving is ridiculous. They should be able to listen to Latino music. That's their God-given right. Up next, this is a huge red flag. Fireworks expert raises concerns over deadly Esparto explosion by Cap Radio News. So researchers, investigators, CSI, all this and that, went on the grounds of that fireworks explosion, and they realized that the safety concerns were completely taken out of context. They were not put into place, and that's why there was such a terrible explosion. Up next, by the Le Monde Diplomatique, a story about Tony Blair, and they're saying that Tony Blair may have been accomplice of Netanyahu. Very scary stuff. This is a story from the past couple of years back, so be sure to read that story. It's in French, but you can read it in English as well, I'm sure. Up next, when the threat is inside the White House, what CIA insiders make of the MAGA moles and toadies now in charge of U.S. national security. It's by Foreign Policy. I really love this story. This story is a great story because it goes to show how a lot of people that have been working for the company for many, many years, from decades sometimes, 2 decades, and they're working hard, they're doing their jobs, and basically they've been replaced by people that have no concerns or no notion as to how to do their jobs. People that are basically hired right out of like Fox News, and they're somehow getting a job. This is ridiculous. When you work at the company, you work at the company. Okay, it's not some little job that just anybody can do. You have to work very, very hard. You have to have a lot of experience. You have to get that degree in international studies or foreign affairs or political science. You have to take the proper steps. You have to show your loyalty to the U.S. government. You have to do all sorts of steps. And these guys are basically hired straight out of Fox News. This is ridiculous. You don't give a job from the company to the MAGA cult. You just don't. This is pathetic. This is pathetic. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go ahead and keep this up. Next story we have is from the Foreign Affairs. How Russia could exploit a vacuum in Europe, the dangers of a rapid drawdown in American forces. This is by Foreign Affairs, and a very important story because it shows that the more America is not having forces in Europe, it could really hurt European forces when it comes to the Russian threat, which especially what's going on in Ukraine and what's going on elsewhere in the region. So really important article. Be sure to check that out. All right, up next we have an article by The Diplomat. Partners in deterrence, China and Russia's deepening military ties technical ties. So check out that article by the diplomats. Up next, getting inside the mind of Xi Jinping, former senior CIA officer shares insight on China's ambitions by the Cypher Brief. So be sure to read that article. Really important. China is getting stronger and stronger on AI, so it's really important for Americans to keep the momentum going when it comes to fighting on AI on that front. And as you know, America has some wonderful quantum computing technology, but China is getting very strong in terms of quantum computing as well. So really important stuff. Up next, we have an article by Intelligence Online in French. France, Russie, Ukraine, Telegram empêtré dans sa politique de modération à géométrie variable. So really important article here. Be sure to check it out. It has to do with France, Russia, and Ukraine. Just really important stuff. It's in French. I'm sure you can read it in English as well. Up next, we have an article by Quantum Magazine. The biggest ever digital camera is this cosmologist magnum opus, Nostalgie Estivale. No, that's what it was from Quantum Magazine. Up next, we have an article by CERN. It's just a Throwback Thursday photo, so be sure to look at that photo. And after that, we have an article by NASA, which is Axiom Mission for Departure. And then I go and write my commentary, which I say happy 14 Bastille Day, happy 14 Juillet for all the French people. So especially if you're French American in the States, I hope you had a wonderful 14 Juillet. I did not really much celebrate. Actually, I had to go to the dentist on July 14th. I took a nap. I got home. I was tired. I had a nap, but then I want to thank French television for putting all of the fireworks. The fireworks are going to be on YouTube, so it's like 3 parts, 3 hours each. So whenever I find some free time where I can just relax and chillax, I'm going to go ahead and watch all of it. It looks amazing. So thank you for doing that. And I just want to remind everybody that if you're a French American, you have your duty to vote. It is very important to vote. Don't think that just because you're outside of France, you're elsewhere in the world, it's just one vote, it doesn't matter. Please understand, last presidential election, I voted, and I voted for President Emmanuel Macron. You don't understand that one vote can make all the difference, because if a lot of people did not vote and did not take voting seriously, we could have been stuck with the Le Pen presidency. Is that what you guys want? Is that what you want, to be stuck with the Le Pen presidency? It would be incredibly dangerous for France. It would make us in a situation where we would be completely, on a fascist regiment of, Le Pen, and like her father was a Nazi and all this. It would be very dangerous for France. So please understand that. Every vote counts. Vote. If you're overseas, vote. You have to vote. Every vote counts. Take that seriously. I can't stress this enough. Look at this. America is a prime example. People didn't take voting seriously. We got stuck with Trump the first time around in like 2016. People didn't take Trump seriously. We got stuck with Trump for a second presidency instead of being with Kamala Harris. That's how dangerous it is not to take voting seriously. So anyway, this is my video for Monday, July 14th. I hope you enjoyed it. Happy happy July 14th if you're French American. And here's my croissant. I'll have another croissant in my video for Tuesday as well, for Coffee with Zack in French. So if you speak French, don't worry, I'll do another video in French for Coffee with Zack for Tuesday, so you'll get to hear me speak in French, and we'll talk about a bunch of other stuff, including foreign affairs. As you know, the French take foreign affairs much more seriously, since right now the State Department is very much racist and always wearing white blouses and blouses, and not even acknowledging the fact that there are brown people in the world, and the fact that there needs to be a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, and everyone is basically turning all their attention to Ukraine, which is justified. Ukraine is important, but for some reason, why is it important in Ukraine, but it's not important in Palestine? Seriously, guys, start asking yourself that question. Seriously. Okay, guys, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really means a lot. Like I said, check the stats on my LinkedIn channel for Zack and LGLC. Got 23,000 views just last week. I was really ecstatic, really happy. Make sure to turn those views on my website, zack.coffee. Zack.coffee only has like 500 unique views per month. So please view the website, the Zack.coffee. You can read it on your computer. You can read it on your mobile devices, on your phone, on your tablet, on your iPad, whatever. You can read it anywhere. Okay? Thank you guys again. And yeah, until next time. Bye-bye. Oh, by the way, as I mentioned in my previous video, don't forget to vote for me in the DJ Mag Top 100 poll for my podcast, J-Lag Radio. I have other podcasts as well, like Omega Radio, but J-Lag Radio is the main podcast. J-Lag Radio 3600 was one of the recent main podcasts. It really would make me very happy if you vote for me, Zack Keumi, on DJ Mag Top 100. There's a link on my website. It's like the first link. You click on that, it takes you to DJ Mag's website, and you can vote for me. Please get me on that poll. It really would mean a lot. I would appreciate it. All right. And like I said, I'm looking for all kinds of sponsors. So if you're at Red Bull, at Monster Energy Drink, if you're at Doritos, if you're at Lacoste, I would love to be sponsored by Lacoste. If you're at Cole Haan, if you're at PlayStation, Sony, if you're at Nintendo, if you're at Xbox, wherever, Dutch Brothers, if you're at Starbucks, if you're at, Timbuk, that's a brand of messenger bags. If you're Cyberpunk, if you're at CD Projekt Red, if you're at IGN, if you're at Kind of Funny Games, if wherever you're at, if you're looking to promote your website or your entity or your brand, contact me, become one of my sponsors, and I would love to have a message about your company. Even Audible. I'll do a message about Audible and Amazon and all this and that. Okay? Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Please keep stay tuned to my website. It really means a lot. And until next time, bye-bye. Oh, I have to mention one more thing. A lot of people are asking me, what is Sento Yusei Yukikaze? Sento Yusei Yukikaze is a anime and a novel from a Japanese author, and there were two novels. There was Yukikaze and Good Luck Yukikaze. Then there was a third novel in kanji, and this novel has not been translated yet. And when I contacted them, they basically said if enough people demand or purchase the first two volumes, they would translate the third volume. So please do me a favor, go on Amazon and buy Yukikaze and Good Luck Yukikaze volume, which is novel 1 and novel 2. And if enough people buy it, hopefully they'll translate the third volume into English, because I need to read it. I love this story. I've seen the anime and read the both books, and I would love for the third one to be translated into English so I can put it on the book club. That would be really fun. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. And thank you again. Until next time. Bye-bye.